Hello everyone, I'm Wayward and this is Grey Goo. Looking at a 1 versus 1 today on the map Deserted Isle. In the bottom left corner, spawning as the green goo, is XCet. And at the top right, spawning in as the red-orange humans, is... I'm not going to do this name justice. Bouwvakker. Bouwvakker? I do apologize. I am having a little bit of trouble pronouncing this name out loud. Bouwvakker. Anyway, this map, of course, is being played on XCet's very own quick script mod. It's a very simple modification to the game. Basically, what it does is when you build your first refinery, it refunds you a portion of the cost. And for the goo, when they get their first block of resources on their mother, see those little pips of resources, when they get their first one, it gives them a second mother goo for free. Gets the game going a lot more quickly. Normally there's a very long kind of wind-up time for the game, which I think is intentional, but the QuickScript mod is a fairly elegant way to really get things going a lot more quickly, and it's much appreciated, and pretty much all of the players of the game currently play QuickScript matches whenever they play. There's very little going on that's not QuickScript these days. Anyway, been a lot of introduction and not a lot of talking about what's going on. So XCet has taken his mothers and he's split them fairly far apart. This one is getting a lot of resources because it's being danced back and forth between these two spigots. So what the mother goo does, and I always cover this stuff really at a fine level because not a lot of people play Grey Goo anymore, and there's a high likelihood that if someone watches one of these videos, they're not really going to know what's going on. So the mother goos, see those gas vents coming out of the spigot. The mother goo eats that, and then every time it touches one of those spigots, it gets extra resources. So XCet is going for an economic play. He's splitting his mothers pretty far apart. Because first off, it's not good to keep all of your eggs in one basket, and secondly, it is it actually helps them to, if you keep them apart, you can move them around more. The goo is a very tactical race. They do a lot of movement of their mothers. Their mother goo is economy, it's unit production, it's research, it's all of it kind of bundled into one, and where they are and what they're doing is very important to them, to the goo. The humans, on the other hand, they have to connect all of their buildings to these conduits, and that usually kind of locks them into one area of the map. They tend to build very compact bases. Humans, of course, have the most structure types to manage, and they get the advantage of being able to teleport their buildings around once they've been built. So anyway, Bouwvakker, Bouwvakker. That's just what I'm going to say from now on. Looks like he's having a bit of uncertainty, or I don't know, he built that factory and now he's selling it and rebuilding it. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. But looks like Bouwvakker's on 4 factories, has an air attachment. We did see a monitor out. That is to keep tabs on the goo. Now, the goo are actually really mobile, obviously, because all of their stuff can move around. So, and the humans aren't. Their units tend to move kind of slow. They can do a lot of force projection wherever they are, but it's hard for them to get around the map. So the monitor to keep tabs on the goo is a very useful strategy, and air can be really good against the goo as well, but I'm not sure. It looks like right now Bouwvakker is going with tier 1, mostly tier 1 units, although I imagine Gladius tanks are coming pretty soon. The tank attachment that he's got here, it's the only attachment, I believe, that gives the human access to 2 units at once, so it's a pretty common choice for human players, and also a very common first choice. So, while I've been talking, XCet has gotten a decent-sized mixed force out, although it's run into a much larger human force in this Valiant here, whenever he stops moving, he generates a force field that protects his allies, and some mismanagement is costing XCet his entire army. So that really did nothing. It was a bit of a misstep from XCet. His army was not nearly big enough to commit. In terms of economy, while we're watching this remnants of this army run away from this large human force, XCet has a tremendous amount more resources harvested. The goo, I think, typically always harvest a little more because they get more at a time, and they kind of have one unit that's also a structure that's also their base. Let's take a look. So, in terms of unit counts, there's not too many differences, it looks like. But up here at the pop cap, it's really in the bouwvakker's favor. XCet has a smaller army at this point. In terms of structures, we're at 7 mothers to 5 refineries. That's not really where bouwvakker wants to be. He really could be macroing up right now, getting a large, out-of-control economy. If you look at the mini-map, I call it the tail of the mini-map, right now XCet has a large portion of the map where he has influence with those mothers and with his army. And bouwvakker is, even with his army out in front of his base, he's still kind of very, very close to his area. He could be getting resources down here. There's a lot of spots where he could be trying to contest. And he's not, and I think that is not going to play in his favor. Right now, he's fine, but if XCet is able to continue to just produce units and mother goos, then eventually he's going to get a ton of them, and that's not going to be great in the long term. So, let's see. Okay, so that the cliffs there actually aren't great cover. The elevation is... Oh, we have a monitor, and it can see that far. It's got a huge vision range. Normally, being up on these rocks, units couldn't see them, but the monitor is providing cliff vision. Oh, the Tempest has not actually managed to strike it down, and now the poor Tempest is going to die. Bit of a waste there. Right now, by the way, bouwvakker has almost double the population cap of XCet. He is getting out Howitzers, which of course are a long-range artillery unit. We've got those Gladius tanks, which is an all-arounder. It's kind of a meat shield as well as a damage soak, as well as a damage dealer, rather. Damage soak and damage dealer. Of course, we have those Valiants, which are a really good damage soak. XCet now with, I think, 9 mothers. There's 12 total in the thing, and there's 3 free slots. So he is getting really close to maxing out his economy potential. We actually see some tier 3 units mixed in. We've got Destructors, which are a very high-powered damage dealer. The Bastion taunts enemies, forces them to attack it. And then we have the Siphon, not much seen used by human players. Oh, and Crescents. We've got a lot of tier 3 coming out all at once. The Crescent is the goo version of the Howitzer, and they're much more powerful, but fragile and expensive. But yeah, the Siphon, you don't see it used much. It deals area damage to enemies and also heals allies in an area, so it's very powerful. Bouwvakker doing what he should have done all along and coming out here to harass these mothers, but that's going to get cleaned up immediately by XCet. Meanwhile, down here in the right side of the map, XCet is trying to push out to harass bouwvakker's new extractor, but it looks like that's going to get shut down. This is actually a really powerful force. These Striders have no match for bouwvakker's army. Over here, the Howitzers are proving to be devastating to XCet's army. XCet is not able to really get in there and crush that smaller force thanks to those Howitzers, softening them on approach. This is where the Siphon could be useful, but right now it's just kind of sitting there. bouwvakker pulling back using a anti-air. Okay, so the anti-air sentinel is to try to stop these crescent shots. This is not a great engage for XCet. He is using the bastion absolutely correctly. The crescents are starting to do something. Actually, this crescent's really out of position. XCet needs to get that out of there. Should not be that far forward. But yeah, these reinforcements combined with that army going through that choke point really kind of did not play in XCet's favor. So well done by bouwvakker, although he did, I think, lose a couple of... See, these refineries don't have their extractors on them. So that's going to have to not a major issue. Meanwhile, XCet with 11 out of 12 mothers. bouwvakker continuing to try to harass. Really needs to kill some of these mothers if he has any chance of winning. XCet does have a much smaller army at this point, but he has an economy. His economy cannot get much better than it's already gotten. One of those mothers has a ton of... Where's the one with all the health? This one? Almost full up? Yeah, it must be this one. That one is almost maxed out. If XCet gets a... the Goo Epic unit, the, what's it called? Not the Protean. Gosh, what is it called? If he gets it, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled. Why am I blanking on the name of the Goo's Epic unit? The human have the alpha, and you basically never see those in competitive. Oh, so it actually looks like we did get at least one mother cleaned up down here. There's an extractor in place, and some destructors are taking it out. So they have the bouncing shots upgrade, so let's take a quick look. Yeah, so they have the contagious goo that causes the destructor shots to bounce to multiple targets, which is a really standard upgrade if you're going for the destructor. There's another one, I think, for the destructor that makes it deal area damage instead, but it's, I think, literally never used. This one's just better in almost every case. Another big offensive by XCet. You can see the taunt from Bastion going out, stopping that army from attacking these fragile tier 3 units. But again, bouwvakker is managing to push back XCet's force. I don't know if this is the same siphon or another one, but we still have the siphon there. We do have the crescents as well. Oh, this is a huge waste here, these large Proteans. Now, this is a big mistake by bouwvakker, getting those large Proteans right up in his army, but that is a tremendous loss of resources for XCet right there. Does manage to transform them into destructors and get a little bit of damage in. Oh, we do have the Harvester camo upgrade coming down and the repair subroutine. So with repair subroutines, most human units will automatically repair themselves over time. It's very useful. It's one of the upgrades you almost always see. Meanwhile, in terms of economy, XCet has managed to mostly recover from that earlier harassment, is now back up to 11 Mother Goos, which is pretty handy for XCet. And bouwvakker only on 6 refineries. He really should have a lot more, and this is going to be really bad for him. He's just got a huge army right now. But going forward, what is likely to happen, since XCet's economy is so much better, is he'll just trade and trade and trade. Oh, we have daggers. You don't see those very often. Daggers are the basically the scout unit for the humans. They have, when they attack an enemy, it reveals that enemy no matter where it is for a couple of seconds. So if the enemy tries to run away into brush or something, the dagger can spot them. XCet with another Bastion. There seems to be some sort of pathing issue, unless he's pulled it back intentionally. A ton of Striders, which is, at this point in the game, I think, pretty good. The Drover is a... it has a like a shotgun type attack, a cone attack. Does not do well against the units right now that bouwvakker has. bouwvakker making some good use of these turrets, this anti-air to stop the crescents, and the anti-heavy sentinel, those missiles going out, getting those crescent shots en route. But this is a good complement to bouwvakker's army. This is a bad place right now for XCet to be trying to attack into, and there's a ton of howitzers. There's a ton of AoE. And there's not a lot of AoE in this game, so when you do see the AoE, it's quite potent. So with the siphon and the bouncing shots, that's actually a pretty good tactic for the goo, but attacking into all those howitzers is really just not helping bouwvakker. Oh my god, there it is, the Purger. Why did I only remember when I saw it? We have a Purger coming down. They take forever to make. XCet can sacrifice units to it. He can sacrifice the formless goo, the large proteans, and the small proteans to make it build faster. Also the mother goos. But I would love to see a Purger come out. That would be really cool. Another harassment attempt by bouwvakker, this time only with 3 units. With the Mother Goo and the Striders, I'm not sure that much is going to happen there. XCet trying to use Dwellers right now. It's a living landmine. When they plant themselves down, they stealth, and then they can do a tremendous amount of damage. Oh, and we have some more goo upgrades, it looks like. We have the projectile endurance that decreases the damage and I think the area of effect of these shots, but they can't be taken down by the anti-air sentinel anymore, so there's no stopping the crescent shots. Let's see. We also have advanced mitosis, so when dwellers explode, they drop a small protean, and enhanced cloaking, which means the dwellers will be permanently invisible when trained. So it looks like XCet trading off for walking landmines, although, to be fair, bouwvakker is ready for it with these daggers that spot stealth. So it remains to be seen whether or not the stealth dwellers will have any real effect. Bouwvakker in a tough spot right now. He's doing well with these howitzers, does manage to drop down that bastion, but right now his army is actually smaller than XCet's, although a lot of that population is this Purger. If and when that Purger comes out, this is going to be very, very bad for bouwvakker. Actually kind of managing to push pretty deep into XCet's territory. It looks like he managed to take out one of the mothers, and so potentially bad news for XCet right now. Let's take a quick look. Actually, it looks like bouwvakker is almost maxing out on his population as well. Let's take a quick look at his base. No. There he is. His head is sticking up. There's a human there, kind of cheering on the robot. We have an alpha. It is coming out in about 4 minutes. So both factions, epic units. We have the alpha up here, getting ready to go, and then down here we have the Purger. Now the Purger, due to how long it takes to build it, may actually come out after the Alpha, although the Purger has 5,000 hit points, and I think the Alpha is considerably weaker, so we'll have to see what happens with that. I believe the Alpha is the weakest of the epic units. You do have... the Hand of Rook does tremendous damage. It's relatively fragile, but long-ranged. The Alpha does, I think, a lot of damage, but is super fragile. And then there's the Purger, which is just a walking nightmare. I think it's one of the stronger epic units in the game. It does a lot of damage. It's got long-ranged, and it actually causes Mother Goo to automatically gain health over time, so a lot of times players will just clump all their Mother Goos around the Purger, making this giant formless goo army. So it's a very, 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 very powerful unit, and it could be very bad. Oh, and actually, XCet's Purger has been spotted. bouwvakker does see the Purger coming out, so I imagine bouwvakker is going to be feeling some pressure to make something happen. XCet right now in a really dominant position. He's maxed out in terms of his economy. He's got a very large army, and of course that Purger is getting ready to enter the field. bouwvakker, his economy is not, he's got 7 refineries now, but that's still 7 refineries to 12 mothers is not great for the human player. bouwvakker really seems like he's on the back foot. I'm not sure that at this point even the alpha is going to turn that around. This is another miss rally by XCet, potentially causing some problems. Now I think that Protean can get away, fortunately. Looks like we're in a bit of a holding pattern right now. I think both players are kind of just waiting for their... Oh, we actually have a Strider coming out to try to harass the factory. That's kind of humorous. It looks like this alpha is really putting some stress on bouwvakker's economy. He's bottomed it out right now. That is going to put some, excuse me, goodness gracious, it's going to put some delays on the alpha that's coming out any minute now. Oh, a minute from now. Forgot there's a timer. bouwvakker finally pushing out, taking down one of the mothers. Oh, it looks like maybe another one was, no, it just dropped off the... That one is probably not going to be able to get away. Either those daggers in the monitor, making sure that it can't hide. It looks like XCet is rallying all of his stuff down to the Purger, which is just about finished. Moments away from being done, actually feeding some small Proteans into it. To get it out that much quicker. This army needs to get out, or it's going to be crushed under the weight of that Purger. And the Purger is live. Not the most impressive looking unit in the world, but look, it just took out all of those Howitzers in one shot. It does a tremendous amount of damage when it attacks in a large area. XCet now pulling all of his mothers in to hang out with that Purger, making the goo death ball kind of a literal thing in this case. Meanwhile, bouwvakker cleaning up a bunch of crescents, cleaning off his area of the map, and here is the alpha with the human up in there. See him driving it from inside. So both epic units out right now. Don't see that too often. I don't know if they were playing passively intentionally to try to get their epic units out, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I would love to see who ends up winning in the fight. I imagine it's going to be the Purger. That's a lot of like health and damage right there all at once. Because of Tempests, because the Purger is vulnerable only basically to air, so these Tempests are here to protect the Purger from a transition into air, which honestly I think at this point would be smart for bouwvakker if he has the money to afford it. Looks like he's moving his extractors off these used up refineries, cleaning up those other Tempests. And right now, XCet has a much, much larger army than bouwvakker. If I was bouwvakker, I would be absolutely crapping my pants at that. The laser is a fun effect, but of course the alpha cannot be healed in any way, so every point of damage it takes is basically permanent. It's already lost a decent bit of health, and it hasn't even been hit yet. Actually, that Purger attack there doing a non-trivial amount of damage. Kind of a neat automated defense there from the alpha, that energy burst, but alpha's taken about a third of its health and damage. continues to take tremendous damage. He's about a half health now, and the Purger has hardly been hurt at all. So this could be very, very bad for bouwvakker. He's trying to make it work. Oh my gosh, he just killed like a couple of mothers there. How much damage does that laser beam do? Oh my gosh. Oh, he just took out a couple more mothers. So even if the Alpha dies, and it's definitely going to die to the Purger, there's only one mother left. All those explosions and lasers have put XCet in a really bad spot. That Alpha just doing gonzo damage to the last remaining mother, and if this dies, I'm pretty sure XCet's out of the game. And there he goes. bouwvakker wins with 3 air units and an almost dead Alpha at 100 hit points at a 25-58. So, honestly, XCet's big misstep was putting all of his eggs in one basket. Even a couple of others held back would have prevented that from happening. I had no clue the Alpha was so damaging. Every time it sneezed, something exploded. It had that, that area of effect burst, which I'd only thought was good against air units. I don't know if that's a change from QuickScript. I don't think XCet changed anything like that. It's possible I just had misunderstood the function of the unit. But yeah, those pulses combined with the laser, it's a tremendous amount of damage. So that is a lot of fun to see. XCet, I think XCet was as surprised as I was, honestly, once that damage started coming out and everything started exploding. I think he tried to pull some of those mothers back with those pulses were just so devastating. There wasn't really time at that point. So bouwvakker pulled out the win in spite of XCet having a really strong economy pretty much the whole game, map control the whole game. It just came down, honestly, to the Alpha wiping everything out at the, just things were too clumped and the Alpha did its job. So, wow, quite a surprising end to the game, honestly. I was thinking that XCet kind of had this in the bag due to his economy, but that was intense. That was really intense. Anyway, this has been Wayward, and this has been Grey Goo. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.